Welcome to SuperTalk Outdoors from the open season property studio. I want to thank you for joining us where we come together every single Monday at lunchtime to celebrate the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi because we're the capital of the outdoors in America. Thank you for joining us on the powerful SuperTalk Mississippi Radio Network. You can also listen to the show, SuperTalk Outdoors, on supertalk.fm. You can watch it at Amazon Alexa, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, or on SuperTalk TV at C-Spire TV. But some of you are watching the show on YouTube or Facebook, or you're listening on your favorite podcast, and we appreciate that too. It's July the 29th, 2024. Hey, listen, we've got a great guest today. Brian Ferguson is going to join me from the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. We're going to talk about state parks, something I don't spend enough time talking about. And, I think you'll look forward to having that conversation or being listening to that conversation. Before we go any further, I don't bring Kyle Curley, the producer of this show, into the conversation enough. And I sent him a note this morning. First of all, I wanted to see if he wanted to go fishing tomorrow, and he can't. And will it remind you why he can't? But I just wanted to say hello and give everybody an opportunity to hear his voice and see what's the latest in Kyle's world is. Kyle, how you doing, my buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing really, really well. Yeah, just to remind people, Kyle and I have done, between this show and the Ricky Matthews show, we probably had over 1,200 conversations over the past over 4 years. And you can literally set your clock to Kyle. He's always going to be there. But we've made a great partnership, and I couldn't do this without him. But you can't go fishing tomorrow, can you, Kyle?
No, I cannot. Tomorrow, Tuesday, starts my 6-day run of Shuckers games. And so that takes up pretty much my whole week.
What do you tell what you do at Shuckers?
I am their public address announcer and do the music/DJ. So I'm the majority of the entertainment, probably about 75% of it, 70%.
Wow. Kyle also does the music in the Superdome during Saints games. And man, we're in training camp now, Kyle. So that part of your life is not far around the corner.
No, it's not. I think we have the first preseason game. I don't really have the schedule in front of me off the top of my head. For some reason, August 30th sticks out, but I don't think that's true. But I know it's coming up. It's just around the corner. I'm not looking forward to waking up at 4 a.m. for a noon kickoff, but it is what it is, and I enjoy the people I work with there, and we have a good time. And hopefully this season will be a good season for us.
Man, I've been paying close attention to it. There's, we have Jeff Duncan every Friday from NOLA.com at the Times-Picayune on the other show, the Ricky Matthews show. And then, we have, others who join us to talk about the Saints. This year is going to be an interesting year because they really turned the corner, got a whole new offensive scheme. I think the team's going to be good this year, Kyle. That's my read on it.
I do too. I'm one of those cautious pessimists on this subject because, I hear the same thing every training camp time. And to me, I've got to see it on the field. I'm hoping for the best because I really do pull for this team. And, not to try and bring it to me, but it makes my job easier when they're winning.
Yeah, I know it does. I know it does. Yeah. So you were off last week, and I had the opportunity to get out of town for a couple of days. But you were with your son involved in some tournament play. How'd y'all do?
Yeah, we did not do as well as we expected nor wanted to. It was it should have been a lot better. We just, for one reason or another, just kind of couldn't pull it together at the end of the game. And we had leads, and then honestly, I think we probably left a pitcher in two of those first two games that we lost. We left pitchers in and ended. Yeah. But it's always easier to coach in hindsight than it is during the thing. But that it was a fun trip. It was in Hoover, Alabama, Birmingham, and I went up on a Monday, and I think we both did some traveling last week because I did a turnaround trip. There was something I couldn't get out of Tuesday while I was gone. So I dropped my son off at the ballpark, arranged for him to hang out with some of his teammates. There were some parents that got together and had an Airbnb. So he hung out with them. I drove to the coast, went to my appointment, drove back to Birmingham, and then found out we didn't make bracket play. and I think the coach decided not to do a consolation game. I think we ended up with only 9 that could have played on that Wednesday. So it was raining, and he and I just made the decision to come on back. So we checked out a day early and drove home Wednesday, and didn't tell anybody I got home Wednesday. I waited till Thursday.
Yeah.
So, but I did go back to work on Thursday as opposed to waiting until Friday. You had to do some driving too, didn't you?
Yeah, I went up to the Delta. I went up to our place in the Delta. We, at least as I say on the show all the time, I have over the last many years, I've had the opportunity to get to know the Dunn family in the Mississippi Delta, and at least 3 separate farms from them. And they're just a terrific family, just absolutely incredible family. And the patriarch of the family, 96 years old, passed away about a week or so ago. And Skeeter Dunn, we had the funeral for Skeeter Dunn, and the preacher from the First Baptist Church of Greenwood, Colin Montgomery, did such a great job sharing stories of Skeeter's life. His time in Arizona. He still owned. The family owns a bunch of land in Arizona still, and they own a bunch of land here in the Mississippi Delta. But it was incredible. The stories about him. I mentioned that he left this incredible reputation. That how he cared about people, service to people, how he's helped so many farmers over the years. He just did a great job. And there was this one point actually during the discussion of Skeeter Dunn where Colin stopped for a second and he just said, "I want to be like that. I want to be like that." And you could put a picture of Skeeter Dunn in any dictionary, and you could have the question, "I want to be like," or you have the question, or "Can you be like that?" Underneath this picture. And it would be, that's all you'd have to know. This guy left an incredible legacy and something that I think all of us could only hope to be. I mean, I want to make T-shirts that say, "I want to be like that," because you find a man that's left a life legacy like he's left. It's very, very special. That's for sure.
Did I also see that you went to a commission meeting as well while you were there?
Isn't that something? I call it kind of divine intervention in a way. So we went to the funeral, spent the night. The next morning, there was a commission meeting for the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And we decided, my friend Mark Creech, I call him MacGyver, and I decided to stop by. And we did. Went to the meeting, and the 2 new commissioners, Todd Hairston was on last week. Hopefully, Colin Maloney will be on coming up here pretty soon. But they were there, and I mean, it was, again, new air in the room. I mean, everyone's wanting to move forward, and I was recognized by the chairman right off the bat for being there, and I got a chance to see a lot of people who've been on my show that I've actually never seen in person. I've never set foot in that building before, which is amazing. I've seen every commission meeting back to the time they actually started taping those for video. I've studied them all. I could pass a test about every single meeting. But I've actually never personally been inside that facility, which incidentally is tremendous facility. I mean, the architect did a fabulous job kind of building this building amongst the trees, et cetera. But it was awesome, man. They had a very smooth meeting. They swore the new 2 commissioners in. I saw a quote there. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Saw a quote that said, "Too many people think the grass is greener somewhere else, but the grass is green where you water it. Too many people think the grass is greener somewhere else, but the grass is greener where you water it." And it says, remember that. It's interesting. It's true. People are always looking for the grass to be greener. And this whole point about, the grass is greener where you water it, you got to put the effort into it. And if we think about the work that so many people put into helping the commission turn a corner and move toward a new direction, you can feel it. You can feel it in the room. And I was going to go back and recall a little bit about what I've said on this show, but I decided not to. But I just want to thank Governor Reeves for taking the time. He didn't let special interests get in the way. He stayed focused on getting 2 men, and Colin and Todd, who I think are going to be terrific leaders on the commission. And, they've got some tough issues to face as it relates to CWD and supplemental feeding, et cetera. Those issues will come up, I'm sure, in the relative near future. But we've got some serious-minded people who are not controlled by special interests who I think are going to try to do the right thing. And I'm excited about it. It was great to see everybody. Had a great conversation with several of the commissioners and several employees, and Yeah, it was awesome. It was really good to be there. So we've been on quite a journey as it relates to the commission, Kyle.
Yeah, yes, we have. And it is weird when you see people that you've only met through video when you see them in person. Sometimes I do the same thing. I run into people that we've had on the show, and in person, it's hard. I just can't pick them out. It's weird. It is.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you a quick funny story. We had the Dunns had everyone over after the funeral the other day, and it was great to visit with everybody, the family and the friends. And Penny and Dwight did a terrific job as hosts of that meeting. Oh, excuse me, that luncheon. And this man named James Johnson came up to me and he said, "Hey, my name's James Johnson. Just want to introduce myself to you. I listened to your show and we had a great conversation. Terrific man. I appreciate him making himself known to me." Then he went back over and started visiting with friends. About 20 minutes later, he came back and said, "I just had to tell you this." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I thought you were going to be 8 foot tall." That's what he said to me. We'll pick it up on the other side and we'll be joined by Brian Ferguson. Welcome back to SuperTalk Outdoors. It was great having the opportunity to visit with my friend Kyle and to share the conversation of James Johnson when he came over and said, "I expected you to be 8 foot tall." People have these visions of radio people, and I stood up and said, "No, I'm kind of normal size." But it's great. I love getting out. I do the show from the house, so I'm not out in public very often. So when I am out in public and get a chance to visit with people who listen to the show, it's a real blessing. It's a real blessing to work and to be the voice of the outdoors in Mississippi when it comes to so many different dimensions, and I'm excited about that. But listen, we're excited also to have Open Season Properties as a major sponsor of this show. They're a full-service real estate company with a team approach philosophy that ensures your needs are of the highest priority, whether it's rural land sales, residential, or commercial properties. Open Season Properties markets and sells real estate in Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. And they're dedicated to the development of long-term client relationships and unwavering commitment to service. Go to openseasonproperties.com to learn more. We're thrilled to have them as a title sponsor. So now let's shift gears and move over to Brian Ferguson, someone I've enjoyed visiting with before. I got to see him in action at the commission meeting last week as he updated commissioners about the latest on capital improvements that are happening at the state park. And we'll get into that here in just a second. But it was good to see you in action, Brian.
Hey, thank you for having me. Thank you for coming to the commission meeting also.
Yeah, I was really honored to be there, really was. Hey, you're the chief of staff for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And I think you've been in that position since 2012. So tell me more about it. You actually have a financial background, and we talked about that the last time we were on the show. But tell me about what you do in your position.
Yeah, so actually, I started at the agency in 2012. Actually, was 28 years old at the time. So I came in into the on the administrative side, more of like on the purchasing and the finance side. Eventually, I think 2016, maybe 2015, I became the chief financial officer for the agency. But yeah, I went to Mississippi State in 2000, graduated in 2004 with a background in finance. Spent most of my young years military though, so I was blessed to come back and be a part of Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks in 2012, and kind of grew up here over the last 12, 13 years. So it's been quite a journey, and moved into the chief of staff role in 2020, I believe. So have been doing that since, just doing some strategic planning for the agency. Mostly where my focus is now is rebuilding state parks. So just spending a lot of time looking and seeing what we have to offer in the state, and then trying to enhance those. It's kind of my I guess mission at the current moment.
Hey, by the way, I meant to say you've been at the department since 2012, yes. Not in that position since 2012. That would have been great coming.
I know, right?
As a green dude, right into the chief of staff role. Yeah, you 24 years with Mississippi Army National Guard. You retired in 2024. That's good to have that in your background, though, isn't it?
It is. I spent a lot of time around the world, saw a lot. It's amazing that you don't know that you'll use some of these things over the years, and you come back and you can relate to the landscapes around the world and recognize what Mississippi has to offer. Just, by happenstance, you're around the world seeing what's out there with no intentions of using it later, but coming back to Mississippi, and I was born and raised in Delta, Mississippi, so I always been attached to beautiful landscape, and Mississippi Delta is one of the best places. I couldn't have think of anywhere else that I would have wanted to grow up at. So, but yeah, that experience taught me a lot, and I use it often in my current role.
Yeah, listen, I was impressed with the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks headquarters building. You know, when you pull up into the parking lot, the extreme care the architects went through to save the trees and to build a building that's, you know, would stand the test of time and be something that you guys could be proud of. But I was a big Frank Lloyd Wright fan, and you know, think about some of the buildings that he's designed along the way, and the way he would tend to really take advantage of nature and the trees when he did what he did. But that had the feeling of that feeling of this, you know, this is a uniquely designed place. And it was so good, buddy. It was so good to see so many people that I had met with on this show, but never actually seen in person. So that was also really good. Great to see the commission moving forward, and great to see the team that you're part of so engaged. And you see the number of cars there. I asked Lynn. That's Lynn Posey, the executive director, for people who don't remember the name. I had a great conversation with him, incidentally, and Michelle and others. But you don't realize how many people work there. You know, I mean, you see the number of cars, and of course, you got people scattered all across the state of Mississippi, but still quite a number of people who work out of that building. But it's a special place, isn't it?
Yeah, and I remember getting lost coming because it's engulfed in nature. You know, it's around trees. So if you don't pay attention to the sign, you would never see the building. So it is, and I think everybody's first time at the building is really, because it's not like an administrative building. You don't see that those, you know, big windows soaring to the sky type. It's we have a waterfall inside of the building. It's really serene, a lot of flora. It's a nice building. We love it.
What I want to encourage, what's interesting, and I've talked a lot about this on the show, but it takes all of us working together. It takes the commission. It takes the employees of the department, the executive staff. It takes the general public. All of us working together. We're not always going to agree on things, but the fact is, if we always keep what's best for Mississippi, what's best for our outdoor enjoyment front and center, we may have differing views about how we're going to accomplish certain goals. But if we keep that front and center, I think we're going to achieve. We're going to protect Mississippi as the capital of the outdoors in America, and so on. But I really want to encourage you to pay attention. Meeting's only once a month. It's on a Thursday. It's only once a month at 10:30 is what usually the time. Sometimes the time will be different depending on where they meet. They try to have the meeting in other places. They don't just meet in Jackson. They'll meet in each of the districts along the way. And I would tell you to pay attention. Go to the meetings. Go there and learn. They only last about an hour, sometimes a little longer. You'll get to see the players who are charged with protecting Mississippi's wildlife legacy all in one room at the same time, and you get a sense of the public process. And I really, really want to encourage listeners to put it on your to-do list to go to a commission meeting at some point along the way. Listen, we talk a lot on this show about hunting and fishing. You know, when you combine what the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks manages in terms of public land, then you think about the U.S. Forest Service, 1.2 million acres of land in Mississippi. Shannon Collardi and I had a terrific conversation about that recently. But if you think about the over 2 million acres that Mississippi has available to it for public enjoyment, think about that. It's pretty amazing, really, that our forefathers had done such a great job of making that available to us. Other countries can't say that, and we're very, very lucky to be here. I don't talk enough about the actual park side of things. We've had many guests over the course of the history of the show, but I thought it would be important to invite Brian, especially after watching his terrific presentation the other day, and start from scratch a little bit with the Park Service. There's a lot of work that's happening within this department to make sure we have outdoor recreation and that we conserve, and that is for sure. The state parks, though, Brian, is an really important part of that overall mission, isn't it?
Yeah, you mentioned public lands, and it's so many. There's a lot of private land in Mississippi, and that's a great thing. The public lands in Mississippi is kind of act as kind of those buffers, those kind of natural buffers that prevent kind of the environmental degradation. It's where we do our research. It's where we do most of what our biologists do every day. So we use state parks, our WMAs, and our fisheries for things that I don't think people really on a daily basis have to think about: clean air, clean water, fertile soil, timber management, all those different things. Just protective spaces for various different species. So it's important to have those public lands so that we prevent all those different things. So we don't have to worry about anybody developing on over it, and so it gives you this natural protection that most countries don't have, and things that we don't have to think about because it just comes natural for us. And it's so many dedicated men and women that wake up every day just to do that. It's kind of their hobby in a way, and it's fun for us. But it's a lot of work, but it's one of those jobs that and we do get thanked a lot. It's not a thankless job for us. We get thanked a lot. I think people realize that there's a large amount of effort that goes into what it is that we do, and we appreciate the opportunity to do it. And I think everybody here can kind of have that feeling that we're doing something special.
Hey, when we come back on the other side with Brian Ferguson, we're going to drill down and talk about specifically some of what's happening at some of the state parks across Mississippi. And we're going to kind of cover the spectrum. We'll do it all we can in the time we have available to us. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. Look, are you looking to purchase the perfect piece of hunting land, upgrade your farm equipment, or have you been dreaming of owning your slice of heaven out in the country? Look no further than Mississippi Land Bank for your financing needs. For more than 100 years, farming families and landowners in North Mississippi have turned to Mississippi Land Bank for all kinds of financial solutions, whether it's for land, equipment, or livestock. For more information, visit mslandbank.com or go by and see one of their friendly staff at any of their offices. We're thrilled to have Mississippi Land Bank as a sponsor, and they're terrific. And as I've mentioned before, my friends use Mississippi Land Bank to buy some land adjacent to some land that I lease, and they're thrilled that they did. Okay, let's get back to Brian Ferguson. He's the Chief of Staff for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And after watching his terrific presentation before the commission last week, I thought, man, I need to invite Brian on, and we need to get back up to speed on what's happening at our parks. One of the things, Brian, if I look back on the conversations that I've had about the state parks, one thing always sticks out, and it really reflects on my own personal experience, and that is that so many families generationally have enjoyed going to these state parks. That was certainly true in my case. And where they have family reunions, it's 2-3 generations in, they're still having family reunions in the same place every single year. For me, it was Paul B. Johnson State Park. My dad would bring our holiday rambler up there, and we'd leave it up there for a while. And we would the family, while he was working down on the coast, we'd all be up there, catching fish with cane poles and just enjoying being there, man. But it became part of who we were. My family was going to do that every year, and we did it every year for most of my life growing up. A lot of families have that story to tell, don't they, Brian?
It's the stories when you go to a state park, particularly in the summertime, but throughout the year, you see that is the primary story people will tell. If you go to Clarko State Park or Leroy Percy State Park, those families have been coming to that park for years, and they have enjoyed it. Their grandkids are now enjoying it. It is a staple in their home. So protecting those spaces is extremely important for us.
Hey, listen, we'll go to some specifics now, but I should point out that the Mississippi legislature has been terrific in providing significant funds to the department. This was needed big time. and we finally are investing, and good things are happening. Let's kind of break it down a little bit. Obviously for those on the coast, we know Buccaneer State Park in Waveland really well. We've always known that it was a part of who we were here in coastal Mississippi. Katrina, just created huge challenges there. I mean, if there was a ground zero for Hurricane Katrina, it was Buccaneer State Park, literally. But good things are happening there right now, aren't there?
Yeah, Buccaneer is a great state park, and like you said, Katrina, it did provide some challenges, but that park has grown so much, and it's growing even more now. I think recently we've opened up a new a new amenity there. We also are planning to open up a smaller campground over on Jackson Ridge, and I think we always talk about the history of State Park. Buccaneer is one of those. It's Andrew Jackson's base of operations almost down at Buccaneer. So it's a great state park, beautiful wave pool. They're the biggest in the southeast, I believe, and it's a great state park. Over 200 campsites there. It's right on the beach. People love Buccaneer, and it's one of my favorite parks.
It's one of my favorite parks too. It always has been, and watching how resilient it was after Hurricane Katrina, and to get back to where it is today, it's really a story of success. We've had conversations on this show before about Percy Quinn State Park in Macomb, but it's been doing some big undertakings there, huh?
So Percy Quinn and I'm extremely happy. This is a busy week, but we opened Percy Quinn for the first time in a year on August the 1st. So Thursday will be the reopening, and Friday we're having our grand reopening ceremony there. So 102 campsites there. We have 9 new cabins that we've renovated. We have about 19 more that we will renovate. But we're opening up a camp store in there. We built a new 2-lane bridge. We've renovated the lodge and the chapel there. The grounds are beautiful. The lake is stocked. It is ready. It's going to be a great time this Friday. And we want to invite people out to come see that park. If you can't come Friday, of course, it's open now. So book your stay there and just come out and visit it. Even spend a day there. It's such a great park.
Well, actually, this is a good example when we're talking about the legislature put significant funds aside to help improve them. When you think about the improvements that were made there, like the cabins, for example, the cabins. A lot of nostalgia related to the way the cabins were, and in some cases still are, but there's been a real effort to modernize them. And I haven't actually seen in person, but I've seen pictures of before and afters across the state of Mississippi. It's incredible how amazing it's turned out, those that have been renovated.
Yeah, we put a lot of energy into, I think it's important now, these cabins were built CCC era, a lot of them. So you're talking nearly 100 years old. And we wanted to keep some of that nostalgia there, but at the same time, you have to prepare for the next 100 years. So it was important for us to modernize them, bring them up to a standard, and provide some of the amenities that people will need now. And it'll get more people out to the park. They'll stay longer, and we know that those things are important to customers and guests because we've asked them. So we didn't just go into it without doing a study on it. But yeah, definitely, I have to give the lieutenant governor and legislators credit. They did a great job of just having the conversations, and we had a lot of hard conversations on what should the state parks be, what should they look like, how we should do this, and I think we put a pretty good plan together and presented to legislators, and we have a lot of conversations about it. So it's not a one-time conversation and we just back out of it. It's constant communication, and we're sharing a lot of information with them, and it's been successful so far.
Hey, listen, I know for a fact, obviously, he's leading by example on this, but Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hoseman and I we visit pretty regularly, and on our last show together, he continues to put the state parks first on his list when we get into a discussion about the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. He really believes that we're moving in the right direction. And one of the points he made last year, I think it's important for people to hear this, is that when you think about VRBO, people are out there. They're not necessarily staying at hotels anymore, although they still do, obviously. But they're used to a certain experience when they lease a place. And so what the effort has been in the camps or the cabins that have been renovated is to get it up to that standard so people can go there and kind of it meets an expectation, because we're getting a lot more experience with VRBO, and people want that to be. And if you had VRBO experience and then went to one of our cabins that has not been renovated, it's, it leaves a lot to be desired. And it's great to see the kind of commitment, because this is a multi-year commitment from the legislature. It's not something, it's not a one and done.
Right.
It's going to take time to get the state parks back up to where they need to be. But man, are we making great progress.
Yeah, it's you want that experience. Your family want to be able to take pictures. They want to share it with people. And Mississippi has its history, but it also has we have a unique opportunity to bring people here who can see the beauty of Mississippi, but also we want them to stay in something that's that's comfortable. So everything we thought of everything from the linens to the towels to how hot the water gets. The soap, we have a branded soap by a local company, Strands of Faith, here in Mississippi. We have branded coffee. It's those experiences that people are looking for now. So we ask all those questions and we talk through all those things, and we try to bring it to life.
That's all. So it reopens to the public on Thursday, August 1st. Is actually a grand reopening ceremony the following day, August the 2nd.
Yes.
And that's Percy Quinn State Park in Macomb. I mentioned Paul B. Johnson State Park in Hattiesburg, just south of Hattiesburg. That's where I spent most of my time growing up as it relates to my state farm experience, state park experience. Tell me about what's going on at Paul B. Johnson.
Complete renovation of that park as well. Over 100 campsites there, nearly 20 cabins renovated. We'll have a camp store right off the lake there. And the grounds are going to be beautiful there also. So you're talking about also adding amenities like kayaking, primitive camping, but the premium primitive, almost like the glamping style camping. So we want to give people an opportunity to do something different there. We probably bring some tiny homes in. We'll have our first tiny home at Buccaneer maybe early next month. But we're also bringing some of those to Paul B. Johnson and Percy Quinn. So those are just things that people are looking forward to going to stay in other places that we want to be able to bring to state parks.
There's a trend around that. There's a there's a new VIP campground, RV campground on the corner of Cowan and Highway 90, and they're doing some tiny homes there in some of those spaces. There's just a big trend. I mean, you got to stay up on what people's expectations are. That's the point. You got to listen to your public. Hey, when we get back on the other side, we'll have a last segment with Brian Ferguson of the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. Listen, no matter what kind of hunting you are into, whether you're looking for 40 acres or 4,000 acres, if you're looking to buy land, you need someone you can trust. He's a hunting land hunter. Call Lake Pickle at Open Season Properties. You can call Lake. He's a good friend of this show at 601-750-2487. Thrilled to have them as a sponsor. Now let's get back to Brian Ferguson. He's the Chief of Staff for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And we're going to have a kind of a show today dedicated to the state parks in Mississippi. And we're just kind of running through some of the big changes that have happened at some of the state parks in Mississippi. We just talked about Paul B. Johnson State Park, just south of Hattiesburg, an area, again, where I spent a lot of time growing up. Then there's Roosevelt State Park in Morton. What's going on there, Brian?
Doing a complete renovation there as well. Hopefully the campground gets open here in October at Roosevelt. So all new campgrounds. We have 2 campgrounds at Roosevelt that'll be renovated. Every cabin at Roosevelt will be renovated as well. You got the pickleball courts going in. You got a renovation of the pool area. The lodge is getting renovated there, and we hope to open the theater back there again also. So it's just a lot of work being done, and we hope to continue it. And everybody's excited about getting Roosevelt back open again. It's the campground's been closed about a year now, so we're just looking forward to getting all that work completed.
Yeah, boy, disrupting all those family traditions, but it's worth it. People should just be patient. It's worth it because what they're going to be unveiling is something that will stand the test of time going forward. So that was Roosevelt and Morton, and then Clarko in Clark County. Clarko is a special place, incidentally. I've enjoyed having folks from that park on this show as we talk about the role volunteers have played to help them in various ways. But Clarko is a special place, isn't it?
It is. So it's a beautiful park. It's small, and it's always amazing when I see people first time at Clarko, and it's a wow factor there because you wouldn't think it was there. It's a beautiful park, a small lake, but a lot of fun. Small campground, about 50 campsites there, and it's just a natural, beautiful area.
Yeah, how do you get there? Where is it exactly located in Clark County?
It's near Meridian, and it's easy to find on a GPS, but it's near Meridian.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I've talked a lot about the legislature's multi-million-dollar investment in state parks. The speaker and lieutenant governor, they're all thrilled with the capital improvements that we're making. But that is, those are important distributions that they're making that are allowing and enabling a lot of the capital investments that Brian and I are talking about. But at the end of the day, man, the state parks are funded based on user fees. And talk a little bit more about the funding mechanism for our state parks.
Yeah, so we always give credit, of course, the capital improvements and the money we are investing in parks to improve it is directed from the legislature in our appropriation as capital expense funds. But the operation of the park is strictly by users coming to parks, enjoying the spaces. How we mow the grass, how we pay the lights and water, that's all generated through the activity that we generate for people coming in and spending time renting campsites and those things. So those dollars are 100% from our users. So we very much appreciate them for over the years, just continually commitment to coming to state parks is extremely important to keeping them running and open.
I bet when you were asked to figure out, when your team was asked to figure out, how do we improve the state parks? That's really kind of a massive undertaking, isn't it?
Oh my goodness. It was, I spent countless hours inside the lieutenant governor's office, just going through every possible number. And I think I'll hear him say all the time that he's a numbers guy. And I think I experienced it the first time. He asked a lot of good questions. Legislators asked a lot of good questions. And we had to put together a 5-year capital improvement plan and kind of show what we would do. But we reached out. Like we said, we did a lot of work with the communities around. In fact, we got USM to do a study for us. And we asked communities a lot of questions. What do you want to see? And we built a comprehensive plan based on kind of, from legislative leaders to our department heads to community stakeholders all around the state. And it kind of built this comprehensive plan that we've been working on the last 3 years.
It takes a lot of work. I mean, you first you got to know where you are now. So you have to have an assessment of the state parks as they were, and then you have to go through a whole assessment of, what could you become? Because there may be some aspects like you added pickleball. There may be some aspects you want to add that are part of best practices from other state parks, and then there's capital improvements you want to make. But the plan, once you got done looking at the whole state, I bet that was very comprehensive. Listen, Brian, we're out of time, but it has been a pleasure to spend some time with you, my friend.
Thank you for having me, as always.
This has been Brian Ferguson, Chief of Staff for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. I enjoyed learning more about how we're doing with our state parks in Mississippi. Listen, have a great time in the outdoors. Always stay safe. God bless you, and we'll see you next Monday.